God. Shalom, shalom, Israel. This is your brother Gad coming at you with another lesson. And I want to start off by giving all honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Hamashiach Malaki Yahushai, worthy of all praises. I want to give another shalom to all the mighty Akim and the mighty Akwafs that are in this truth, sincere, doing all they can to magnify, doing all they can to bring forth good works and magnify the name of the Most High God and His only begotten Son in these last days. I also want to give another shalom to all the mighty children and the teenagers that are in this truth, abstaining from all appearance of peer pressure, doing all they can to be righteous and to be pure in these last days, right? And the title of this, I got a little lesson going, right? And the title of this video is going to be called "Stop Trying to Fit In," right? It's stop trying to fit in, right? Because being in this truth, there's like I brought up just now, there's a lot of peer pressure out here. There's a lot of peer pressure. There's a lot of spirits. There's a lot of demons, to try to get you to go off, try to sift you out, right? Because these spirits, they want you to fit in, right? Just like these spirits are on other people. These spirits, they want to jump on you as well, right? They want to jump on you as well and get you to go off and get you to do things that you shouldn't do, right? We're gonna kick it off with the book of 1 Corinthians, right? I'm on the road right now, so bear with me, right? This is the book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 1 and verse 26, and it reads, "For ye see your calling, brethren, how that not many wise men after the flesh, not many mighty, not many noble are called." So as we're in this truth and we see that the Most High has separated us from the world, you have to understand that not many wise men are called, right? Not many mighty men, not many noble. And notice that it says after the flesh, because we're in this truth. In the flesh, we're not the wise, we're not the mighty, we're not the noble. But in the spirit, we really the mighty, right? We really the noble, right? We really the wise, right? In the spirit, because in this flesh, in the world, they don't look at us as we're wise, right? We might be fasting, you might not do things that other people do, and they think that they look at you like you're a fool or something, or you're not wise. They're like, fast? Why would you do that? Why would you starve yourself out for 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours, right? The world looks at that as foolish, right? Let me keep reading on, right? 1 Corinthians 1 and 27, it says, "But God hath chosen the foolish things of the world to confound the wise," right? So to the world, we're the foolish things, and we come into this truth and we confound the wise, right? We break the scriptures down. We bring out the knowledge of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai that the world does not understand, right? It says, "And God has chosen the weak things of the world to confound the things which are mighty," right? Because in the world, we're considered as the weak, we're considered as the weak, and the world is considered as the mighty. You got your top scholars, you have your top scientists. They're considered as the mighty, but the knowledge of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai breaks all that down, and it confounds all that. The truth is always going to prevail, right? Next verse 28, it says, "And base things of the world, and things which are despised," right? Because we're looked at as the base things, right? We don't indulge in everything that people do, so they look at us like we're boring. We're on a low level. Read that again. It says, "And base things of the world, and things which are despised, hath God chosen, yea, and things which are not, to bring to things that are." Because we're considered as the things that are not, and we confound the things that are, the things that people put on a high pedestal, the things that people look up to. The knowledge of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai is over all that, right? Is over all that, right? And so we can't fit in. The Most High has separated us from the flesh, from the things of the flesh and the things of the world, right? Let's get another precept, right? Going into the world, right? This is the book of 1 John, chapter 5 and verse 19. It says, "And we know that we are of God, and the whole world lieth in wickedness. Right? We're of the Most High. Right? We're in this truth. We keep the commandments. And we know that the whole world lieth in wickedness. So we shouldn't want to be a part of the world. We shouldn't want to be a friend of the world. The Lord talks about that as well. Right? If you're a friend of the world, you have enmity with God. Right? If the world looks at you as their friend, you know, you might not be in the best position with the Most High God. Right? Because even when Christ was on the earth, Christ wasn't a friend of the world. Right? The world, you had a lot of people that believed in him, but you had a lot of people that despised him. You know, they said he worshiped Beelzebub. They said he worshiped the devil. You know, and that's what they're gonna say. That's what they're gonna say about us. You know, people may even pretend to like you. You know, these people in the world are not your friends. They may even pretend to like you. They may pretend to want to be around you, but they really despise you. You know, they might, say things when you're not around, like, oh, who do he think he is? You know, and then when you come around, they're smiling in your face. You know, the whole world lieth in wickedness. You know, they might be plotting on you. They plotted on Yahushua. They came to him asking him questions, trying to tempt him. And that's what we're gonna go through. You may have co-workers, you may have worldly family members, and they're gonna try to test you to see if you about what you say. Right? And if you're not about what you say, they're gonna look at you as, okay, you fit in with us. You're okay with this. So the whole world lieth in wickedness. We're gonna stay right here in 1 John. We're gonna go to 1 John chapter 2, and we're gonna get the classic verse 15. Right? It says, love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. So we can't love the world. We can't be trying to fit in. We can't love the world, and we can't love the things that are in the world. Right? It says, if any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him. So you can't love Yahweh Bashim Yahushai and you love the world. You have to love one or the other. You have to serve one or the other. You either serve the world and you serve man, or you serve, Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Right? It says, for all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh and the lust of the eyes and the pride of life is not of the Father, but is of the world. So these things are of the world, and we can't fit in, right? Because what the world doing? The world smoking weed, celebrating. You can't celebrate Christmas and celebrate the Feast of Dedication, right? You're not of the Father, but you're of the world if you want to do that, right? You can't serve Passover and you serve Easter, right? Because those wicked holidays and the high holy days are around the same season, right? You got the Feast of Dedication in December, and you have Christmas in December, right? You have Passover, is most likely around the time that the world celebrates Easter. You can't do both. You can't do both. You can't be in the world and in the truth, right? Verse 17, it says, and the world passeth away, and the lust thereof, but he that doeth the will of God abideth forever. So you're going to get everlasting life, and you're going to have a everlasting name, because the lust of the world, because the world and the lust of it is going to pass away, right? You got these, you got the wicked rappers, you got the wicked Hollywood, you got these wicked movies, you got all these things. All these things are going to pass away. It's all but for a moment in time. But the righteous, right? It says, but he that doeth the will of God abideth forever. Right? That abideth forever. Look at our forefathers. The Lord said, look at the generations of old. You see, when you read the book of Sirach, I believe chapter 45 on down, chapters 45 on down, they say let us remember these famous men. Right? And it brings up Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, right? It brings up Moses, it brings up David, it brings up all these mighty men that have an everlasting name. Their names are going to live on forever. But around that time, when you look at wicked men that lived around that time with those mighty men, nobody talks about them. Nobody brings up their name, right? So we don't want to try to fit in, and that's what made those men mighty as well. Those men didn't fit in. That's why they're being talked about, right? That's why their name. That's why they have an everlasting name. That's why they're gonna abide forever, because they didn't fit in. Why? They stood out. You want to stand out, right? Being in this truth, you want to stand out. You want people to know what you're about, right? Let's begin of the book of Sirach. Let's go to the book of Sirach, right? Let's go to Sirach. We're gonna get Sirach chapter 9, right? Sirach 9 and verse 11. It says, "Envy not the glory of a sinner, for thou knowest not what shall be his end." Right? And we don't want to envy these things, right? You see a lot of wickedness going on. Like I said, I brought the music industry. A lot of brothers, before they came into this truth, they wanted to be famous rappers. They wanted to be rappers in the world. You see these rappers, they're getting all the glory. Everybody's talking about them, right? They got all the jewelry, they got all the women, right? And you don't want to envy that. You don't want to say that, damn, why can't I be like that? Why can't I want to be like that. I want to have all the women. I want to have all the jewelry. I want people to talk about me. You don't want to envy that. The Lord says, "For thou knowest not what shall be his end." For you see all these people sinning. Even women. Women. They may be. We're in captivity. They may be working these jobs. Trying to make ends meet. Trying to keep up. But then you have wicked women. They selling their bodies, right? They got OnlyFans. And they're making money quick. They're making money quick. You might be on your first car, but you see these women that have OnlyFans. They're buying their fifth car now, right? They're buying their fifth car and buying their second house. Hey, but guess what? We shouldn't envy that, because you don't know what their end is going to be. You don't know what it's going to be, but just know that it's not going to be good, right? Verse 12, it says, "Delight not in the thing that the ungodly have pleasure in, but remember that they shall not go unpunished unto their grave." So if you're doing wickedness, you're going to have to pay for that. You're going to have to pay for that. They might be doing wickedness for 2 years straight. Just know that judgment is coming. You're not going to, you can't escape the judgment, right, of the Most High God. Right? So don't envy sinners, because envying sinners will turn you away from God, because now you're doing what they doing. Now you want to be like them. We got to trust in the Most High God, and we have to have patience, right? Patience is part of the fruits of the Spirit. We have to have patience to know that we're gonna get ours, but we're gonna get ours in righteousness. There's nothing better than getting glory and righteousness, because if it's in sin, just know it's going to come to an end, right? The wicked doesn't reign forever. The wicked have a time, right? Just like Babylon the Great. They've been ruling for a couple hundred years now, but their time is coming to an end. Look at all these wicked kingdoms in the past, they've all came to an end. So we have to know that. We don't want to fit in. We want to stand out. When them chariots come to beam up the elect, they're going to beam up those that stand out. They're going to beam up those that don't fit in. Because everybody that fits in, they're going to be left behind. Right? Everybody that fits in, they're going to be destroyed. The Lord even said, I'm paraphrasing for sake of time. The Lord even said, "Though hand joined in hand, the wicked shall not be unpunished." So even if and also too, all that is found with them will be thrust through. So if you want to fit in with the righteous, but then you also want to be friends. You want to be friends with the wicked. You want to fit in with the wicked. Like what Jake say in the world. If you riding with them, then you ducking with them. That's how it is with the Lord. Right, let's get to the next precept in Proverbs, right? Proverbs 12 in verse 26. It says, the righteous is more excellent than his neighbor. And so you have to know that. If you're in this truth, you have to know you're more excellent than those that are in the world. Right? You may be at your job, right? You might work at a warehouse job, or just like any job where you have a lot of coworkers. You see everybody's hanging out at lunch. Everybody's getting drinks after work. Everybody, people are at work. They're laughing. They're kind of joking around at work. You might think, damn, why don't nobody talk to me? Well, you don't fit in, right? And knowing that you don't fit in, you shouldn't try to fit in. You shouldn't say, I want people to talk to me more. Let me open up more to my coworkers. Let me talk more so I can fit in. Well, you got to understand that being in this truth, you don't fit in, right? You're considered as a weirdo, right? You're considered as a weirdo. You're considered as strange, right? And you have to enjoy that. You have to take some type of righteous pride to know that you don't fit in. And you have to love not fitting in. Because what they say in the world, they say if everybody like you, right? If everybody like you, you're not doing something right, right? That's another thing too. You don't want to be a man pleaser. If man pleasers aren't going to make it to the kingdom, right? You don't want to please. You don't want to, please everybody. You want to have wisdom. You want to have wisdom. You want to, carry the fruits of the spirit. And be a righteous example. You don't want to be an asshole. But you don't want to fit in either. So it's a just balance with that. If nobody's talking to you, hey, let it be. Let it be. You don't want to, try to talk to people or, try to fit in. Right? Reading on, it says, the slothful man roasteth not that which he took in hunting. Right? But the substance of a diligent man is precious. Right? So you want to keep your substance. You want to keep what you have. Right? Remember, the righteous is more excellent than his neighbor. And you want to keep your substance because it's precious. Right? Remember, we're going to get our reward at the end of the day, Lord willing, if we endure. Right? Verse 28. It says, the way of the righteous is life, and in the pathway thereof there is no death. Right? So the wicked and those people of the world, death and destruction is coming. Right? Yeah, you may see them living a good life. You may have worldly people on social media that you may have known in the world. You see them living a good life. You see that they may not want for nothing. They taking trips here, taking trips there. Where death and destruction is coming, right? It's not wicked to take trips. It's not wicked to increase, to have good things. But look at the lifestyle that these people are living. Some people, they have these good things because they work on the Sabbath. If they didn't work on the Sabbath, they might not have these good things. So you have to take things like that. You have to take things like that into account. You can't say, well, I'm gonna have to work on the Sabbath so I can keep up, or so I can fit in. It's not gonna work like that. Right? Let's stay in the book of Sirach. Let's get Sirach chapter 27. Sirach 27. We're gonna start at verse 12. Right? It says, if thou be among the indiscreet, observe the time. So yeah, we live amongst the world. You got to go to work. You got to be around people. We're not saying to just I'm not saying to just lock yourself in your house and get evicted. Yeah, you got to go to work. Yeah, you have to interact with people that are in the world. But when you are interacting with people in the world, you want to observe the time, right? Whether it's your family in the world, whether it's co-workers, whoever it is, you have to observe the time. You don't want to be out and about with your wicked family members, and you linked up with them at 11 this morning, and it's 7 at night. It's them 8 at night, and you're still with them, right? You don't want to do that, or even someone's having a conversation with you at work, They might say something to you. You might say what you have to say, and you keep it pushing. You don't want it to be you've been what they call it, the chatty patty, right? You're being chatty patty with people that are in the world, because eventually you'll find yourself in uncomfortable conversations, in uncomfortable situations, right? Because the world, what they're talking about, yes, it's not a sin to talk about the basketball game that just happened, or who's winning the playoffs. It's not a sin, but you want to observe the time when you're talking to these people, because before you know it, now you fit in. Because now if you're starting to fit in, that's not a good thing. Because now you come to work the next day, now everybody's expecting you to be what they're on. Everybody, they're going for a smoke break. Now they're trying to invite you to the smoke break, and you, in the truth, you don't smoke, but they look at you as if you fit in. If people look at you as you're their friend, then something's not right. Right? Reading on, it says, "But be continually among men of understanding." Right? So be continually amongst men that are understanding, because you're going to increase. There's going to be righteous conversations. Some people in the truth might work together. You might know somebody. I've met a couple people, at my job, that knows that they're Israelites. That they know that they're Israelites. I've seen some that wear fringes, some that don't. But be continually among men of understanding, because you're not going to find yourself in wicked conversations. Because it'd be a lot of wickedness going. It'd be a lot of lust. I'll use myself as an example. If I'm talking to a lot of men of the world, what do you think they're talking about? They're talking about women, what they will do to this girl, and I'm supposed to be in the truth. So at that point, you got to shut that down. Or they're talking about what type of drugs they be on, what type of pills they pop. You don't want to be into that. You're gonna find yourself in uncomfortable situations, right? And so what we're going into is stop trying to fit in. Because some people, spirits come upon them if they don't fit in. You may have fitted in when you were in the world. You may have fitted in. Everybody loved you. Everybody wanted to be around you. But then you come in this truth. People don't really talk to you. They kind of walk right past you and then shake the person's hand right next to you. And that's okay. You have to understand, well, I'm not part of the world. And you have to love that. You have to love that, because you've noticed too that when you separate yourself from the world, you don't deal with as much as people that are around people in the world. Because being a friend of the world and fitting in, you deal with a lot of temptation. Like I said, they're trying to invite you to the smoke session. They're trying to invite you to the party that's going on Friday. Reading on, it says, "The discourse of fools is irksome, and their sport is in the wantonness of sin." So the indiscreet, all they're thinking about is sin. They're not thinking about Yahweh Shem Yahushua. So you have to observe the time when you're around these people, because all it is just worldly conversations and worldly talk. Right? That's all it is. Right? We're gonna get one more precept in Sirach. Right? Sirach chapter 14. Chapter 14 and verse 20. Right? It says, "Blessed is the man that doth meditate good things in wisdom, and that reasoneth of holy things by his understanding." Right? So you're gonna be blessed if you meditate on good things. That's what you want to do. Meditate on the kingdom. Meditate on the precepts. Meditate on the congregation. You don't want to meditate on folly. You don't want to meditate on folly. You don't want to meditate on the latest trends. That's a thing too. It'd be a lot of trends going on, and people want to fit in, right? So we have to meditate. We have to meditate on good things. Because there's no profit in meditating on folly. There's no profit in it. It's vain, right? A lot of these things are are just straight up vain, right? Yeah, you might be outnumbered everywhere you go. You like, everybody's just so damn wicked. Like I said, you don't want to be an a-hole, you don't want to be an asshole, but you want to be wise. You want to be wise when you're dealing with the world. Like I said, we live in the world, but we're not of the world, right? We live in the world, but we're not of the world. Lord willing, I get that. Let me see. It's like Lord willing, I get that. I didn't plan on pulling this out, but Lord willing, I can get it. It's like, Con, let me get this. I'll pull this out. Con, this is John 15 and verse 18. It says, if the world hate you, ye know that it hated me before it hated you. Right? So if people despise you, you may not have even done nothing to nobody. They just know something about you they don't like. Because the wicked, they can see that light on you. And those that are wicked, they don't like the light. The Lord speaks about that in John chapter 3. Right? They don't like the light, neither do they come to the light, lest their deeds may be reproved. They might see that light on you and they know to stay away from you. And that's okay. It's not you, it's them. Because you with Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. You keep the commandments. It's not you gotta know it's them. So when you don't fit in and things not going your way, it's not you. Right? Verse 19, it says, if you were of the world will love his own. So if you was of the world, everybody be blowing your phone up. They be inviting you everywhere. You know what I'm saying? They want to be your friend so bad, right? Because they're of the world. And so that's not a good sign. When there's a lot of people in the world that's trying to talk to you and that want your attention, that's not a good sign. It says, but because ye are not of the world, but I have chosen you out of the world, therefore the world hated you. Right? We were just going into that at the beginning of this lesson. So the world despises you. Right? They despise you. You don't even know this person. They just don't like you. Right? They don't like you because you don't smoke weed. Right? They don't like you because you never at the parties. Or you never get drinks with everybody after work. Everybody go get drinks, but you that one person that don't get drinks. And so when they come to work the next week, they don't like you. They don't like you because you don't hang out with them, or you don't talk much, right? And they'll try to guilt trip you too. They try to guilt trip you too when you don't fit in. They're like, why you never talk? You always quiet. They try to guilt trip you. Now you feel like you gotta talk more. Now you feel like you gotta fit in. No, you don't have to fit in. You don't have to talk more. You say what you gotta say. When they say that, you say what you gotta say, and you keep it pushing. Right? That's they'll try to guilt trip you. You never come out with us. You wasn't there at the party. Everybody else was there. Why you never there? Now they try to guilt trip you to you showing up to the next party now. Right? So no, we not showing up to the next party because we're not trying to fit in. And we got camp to go to, right? And we got the Sabbath to keep, right? It says, verse 20, it says, remember the word that I said unto you, the servant is no greater than his Lord. If they have persecuted me, they will also persecute you. If they have kept my sayings, they will keep yours also. So the righteous are going to be persecuted. And I'm not talking about just Jacob's trouble. You'll be persecuted now. You'll be a cast off, right? Everybody got a group chat. There's a group chat going on, and you're not in that group chat. You're not in that group chat, and that's okay that you're not in that group chat, right? We want to let everybody know that it's okay that you don't fit in. It's okay that you eat lunch by yourself, right? It's okay that if you look on social media and your worldly family throwing a party and nobody invited you. They see a party. You see a party's going on at your auntie's house. At Auntie Suzanne's house, you see a party's going on and nobody told you about it. That's okay. You have to be happy. You got to rejoice in that. All praise they didn't invite me. You know, all praise I'm not in that group chat. It's probably wickedness going in that group chat. You know, all praise they didn't invite me to go eat. Because they out eating, and they eating shrimp, crab, and lobster. Right? They having wicked conversations, saying, you shouldn't be there. You know? Reading on, it says, but all these things will they do unto you for my name's sake, because they know not him that sent me. So we know the Father, right? And the whole world life, the wickedness, they don't know the Father, right? They don't know the Father, right? And we can't be afraid to stand up to multitudes of people. You know, you might have a crowd come up to you and say, we just feel like you're acting funny. You don't talk to us. They might press you out. They might come up to you and press you out. And you gotta be ready for that. You gotta be ready to stand up for yourself. That's another thing too. If you don't stand up, you gotta stand up for yourself. Right? They want you to fit in so bad, they're gonna make it an issue. I'm like, look, if you don't fit in with us, we don't want you around. Right? You gotta be like Elijah. Elijah was shutting stuff down. Elijah was outnumbered, right? This is the book of 1 Kings, chapter 18 and verse 21. It says, I'll start at verse 20. It says, so Ahab sent unto all the children of Israel and gathered the prophets together unto Mount Carmel. And Elijah came unto all the people and said, How long halt ye between two opinions? If the Lord be God, follow him. But if Baal, then follow him. And the people answered him not a word. Right, this is the point. Then said Elijah unto the people, I, even I only, remain a prophet of the Lord. But Baal's prophets are 450 men. So you got Elijah standing on one side, and you got 450 other men standing on the other side. So Elijah's outnumbered. They all worship Baal, but Elijah worships Yahweh Shem Yahushua. Elijah worships the Most High. And so just by that, if people are outnumbered, they'll be more inclined to fit in. Because everybody wants to fit in, right? They like that good feeling that comes with it. They fit in, you know. Remember that's all the stuff of the world. That's all the stuff of the world, right? But Elijah says he was left alone. He said he's the only prophet around, right? But Baal's prophets are 450 men, and that's deep. No, let it be 450 people. It's a crowd of them, but you by yourself. You know, you don't want to get discouraged. You know, like when Elisha told that man, you know, he prayed to the Most High that he opens the eyes of that man, and when the Most High opened his eyes, he saw that it was more. He saw the angels. He saw that it was only two of them. You know, and he said, well, what are we gonna do? And I believe it was Elisha. He told the Most High to open his eyes that he may see. Right? And when the Most High opened his eyes, he saw all the angels. He told him, he said, see now that there is more of us than it is of them. It might be 50 people come against you, or 50 people, you know, and you're just by yourself. Right? And you might be by yourself, but it might be 300 angels around you. It might be 100 angels around you. You know? Right? You know, so Elijah didn't fit in. Right? The prophets never fit in. Right? The prophets never fit in. Right? Even when you read the prophets was always being scoffed at. It was always scoffing the men of the Lord. Like even a lot of women. A lot of women get peer pressure to fit in. Right? They see women showing their bodies off. Everybody likes them. But then you wear a dress, and people may not talk to you. People may not, you know, come around you. But the girl that's showing her body off, everybody's in her face. You know, everybody's offering her gifts. Everybody wants to talk to her so bad. But then nobody wants to talk to you. And you got to take pride in that and going about your business. Right? Going about your business and meditate on good things. Because that's a good sign. You know? That's a good sign, because it's a red flag if you're a woman, if you're a female, and everybody's just in your face. Because you got to ask yourself, damn, why are they talking to me? Like, what are you doing for them to want to talk to you? Like, even if it's a lot of men, trying to invite me somewhere, they always trying to talk to me. They always trying to invite me somewhere. Why are they trying to invite me somewhere? What am I doing that they trying to invite me? Now, we understand how Satan works. Probably trying to get you to go off, but you got to meditate on these things. Why you? Right? Let's go back to John again. Right? Go back to John again. And Lord willing, this video is edifying, right? Because remember, stop trying to fit in. That's what we're going into. There's nothing good comes out of fitting in, and that's how a lot of people fall out the truth, because they wanted to fit in so bad. They try to bring the truth. They try to bring this truth and bring it into the world. These people in the world, they don't give a damn what you're talking about. They don't respect what you believe. You told them that you don't smoke weed, and they still trying to get you to smoke weed. Hey, that's disrespect. That's disrespectful. I don't smoke weed, and you asking me. You say, hey, I know you don't smoke, but come on, just smoke this one time with us. That's all we ask is just this one time. Yeah, that's disrespectful. Right? That's disrespectful, right? This is book of John, chapter 6 and verse 63. It is the spirit that quickeneth, the flesh profiteth nothing. The words that I speak unto you, they are spirit and they are life. But there are some of you that believe not. For Yahushua knew from the beginning who they were that believed not, and who should betray him. Right? So a lot of people don't believe. Right? A lot of people don't believe. It says, and he said, therefore said I unto you, that no man come unto me, except it were given unto him of my Father. From that time many of his disciples went back and walked no more with him. So you can't be offended. You can't be offended if you don't fit in. If people might call you names, they might call you weird. Now you don't want to take that and say, damn, you know what? I'm gonna go hang out with them just one time. I don't want to be weird. I don't want to be looked at as a castaway. And people, and a lot of people will lead this truth because they don't fit in, or people don't want to deal with them. So they slowly try to be a friend of the world and be a friend of the Most High God. And they'll slowly go back into the world. Right? Verse 66. I'm gonna read that part again. It says, from that time many of his disciples went back and walked no more with him. Then said Yahushua unto the 12, will ye also go away? Right? So Yahushua asked him, but when you read before this, verse 61, he spoke a parable to them, and he said, does this offend you? Right? And like I brought up earlier, we can't be offended. We can't be offended if we looked at as weirdos. We can't if we don't fit in. Right? If nobody talks to us. Right? If we get called names. Right? We have to endure. Right? We don't want to fit in. Right? Hey, you got brothers and sisters in this thing. That's who we want to be around. That's who we want to talk to. Right? That's who we don't want to offend. We don't give a damn about people in the world, and if we offend them. Right? Verse 68. Right? John 6 and 68. It says, then Simon Peter answered him, Lord, to whom shall we go? Thou hast the words of eternal life. So it's like, where's we gonna go? You know what I'm saying? We have to love this thing. We have to love this thing and what we stand for. Where are we gonna go? The world is not for us. You know what I'm saying? The world is not. Where's we gonna go? The world is not for us. Right? So we have to love this thing. Right? We have to love this thing. Reading on, it says, and we believe that. Sorry, it says, and we believe and are sure that thou art that Hamashiach, the Son of the living God. So when Yahushua had disciples that went back and followed him no more, he asked the 12, will ye, he says, will ye also go away? And they said, where we gonna go? You the son of the living God. You got the words of eternal life. Because they knew that this truth was better than the world. They knew that, worshiping Yahweh Bashim Yahushai was better than worshiping Baal. And they knew these things. That has the words of eternal life. And that's what we gotta say. That's what we gotta say. We gotta say, we don't care if you don't like us. We don't care if I don't care if you think I'm a weirdo. I don't want to fit in with the world. Hey, they didn't want to fit in with the world. Right? Everybody else going back, now they going back too. Right? You can't see somebody fall out the truth and then you like, damn, this you may have been close to this brother in the truth. And he falls out and you like, you know what? He is right. Or somebody might bring a strange doctrine. And you're like, you know what? They are right. I'm gonna go with this. Right? We don't want to fit in. Right? We want to stand out. You want to let your, let me get that. You want to let your light shine. You never know who you might bring in. Hey, everybody that thought you was a weirdo, those people that thought you was a weirdo, they might come into the truth. They might come into the truth. Let me get this real quick. Oh yeah, this is the book of Matthew, chapter 5 and verse 16. It says, let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. So no matter what, we want to let our light shine at all times. Whether people talk to us, whether they don't. You want to let your light shine because you're going to stand out, because what we just read in 1 John chapter 5. For we know that we are of God and the whole world lieth in wickedness. The whole world lieth in darkness. And you got to be that light that shines. Because if you fit in, that means your light is dim. You go into a dark room and somebody has you see that little bit of light over there in the corner. You could barely see it. Hey, you damn near might not even see it. No, you want to be that light. You want to be, because when you read before that in Matthew 5, he talks about a candle. You want to be that candle. If you put a candle in a dark room and watch how bright that thing is, that thing gonna light up the room. You could see everything in the room if somebody turns that candle on. But if you got that little bitty light, you don't really shine. You in the dark, nobody really sees you. All right, let's get this last. Let's get my. I'm gonna get my closing precept. We're gonna close out. All right, so Lord willing, this video was profitable, man. You know what I'm saying? So stop trying to fit in. Right? You don't fit in. Right? You don't fit in. And if you do fit in, you got to check your spirit. If there's a lot of people, if everywhere you go, everybody just, if everybody just likes you, you got to check your spirit. Now remember, you want to move in wisdom. You don't want to, you just walk in the room, you just throw everything off the desk. You just, you slapping papers out of people's hands, and you're slapping books out of people's hands, and it's falling to the floor. You don't want to be that. But if you fit in, you got to check your spirit, right? This is the book of Matthew, chapter 24, verse 44. It says, therefore, be ye also ready, for in such an hour as ye think not, the Son of Man cometh. So you got to be ready. You don't want to be found fitting in. You don't want to be found. You don't want to be found fitting in. You want to be ready. You want to be ready. You want to stand out. You want to have your loins girded about and your lights burning, right? Pursuing to the book of Luke, right? And your lights burning, right? That's what you want to have. It's like, I know I said that was the last precept, but I gotta pull this precept out. All right, bear with me. Gotta pull this precept out. Right, this is the book of Luke, chapter 12 and verse 35. It says, let your loins be girded about and your lights burning. Right, so with that, I'm gonna close up and give all honor and glory to Yahweh, Ba'Shem HaMashiach Malak Yahweh Shai. Lord willing, this video is edifying. Shalom.